There's a reason why the word never again or never forget is used, and it's used usually after every plague, every major war, every major famine. It's always used whenever something very, very bad happens. And unfortunately, I think something that occurred back in the 40s is happening again at this place called Cecot, and it's in El Salvador. And I'm not going to get into all the details of these new findings. You can go and do your own research, but there's been some evidence of a corporation producing crematoriums at this Cecot prison, and there's been footage and photos of allegedly piles of bodies, and I've been looking deeply into this, and someone can make the claim that, oh, most of these prisoners were violent, most of these prisoners were very bad, or at worst, very evil. Um, but from what I've seen, looking at the laws and statistics in El Salvador, pretty much anyone that has a tattoo, and that being probably a lot of people, usually end up in the CCOT facility, whatever it is. And I mean, yes, some of these people might be bad, but I'm sure a large majority, have records or were caught, doing things to do with illegal drugs or guns or theft, or some sort of somewhat violent behavior. But I don't think that most of these people are evil. We all make bad choices, bad mistakes. Even I must admit, I probably done a couple things in my life that are extremely evil, I have to admit. But people change, and some people, yeah, are so bad. I think just give them the death penalty. But if if in fact there are thousands of people at this Cecot prison, and several of them, a week or month or whatever, dozens, hundreds are being um, sent to crematoriums, as it's been alleged, then I would classify this prison as an extermination prison, an extermination camp, like the ones back in the 40s, like Auschwitz. Now, it's obviously not on the same level. It's not on the same degree of violence and abuse and cruelty and lawlessness. But nonetheless, if this is occurring, then I think an immediate missile strike should be launched on El Salvador. I think that an immediate assassination of Bukele should be initiated, because there can be absolutely no tolerance for another Auschwitz, for another 1940s mass extermination of people. And it's like, yeah, you can say some Jewish people might have contributed to Germany's fall back in what was it, the 20s and 30s, or the 20s, I think, and before that. Some could say that some Jewish people contributed to the fall of Germany. That some Jewish people in Germany and around there were evil, and they caused a lot of Germany's issues. But there's no reason to go to ghettos where there's a bunch of poor, impoverished, starving people, and send them to camps and mass murder them. There's no reason for that. And I think with a lot of these criminals, they've lived in difficult environments. They've had hard lives, and I've known a lot of people that have grown up in poverty, and they've done things, you could say, somewhat immoral things to survive. And that's just how it is, in nature, being a human. But I think that there's pretty much no excuse to mass murder, people with criminal records. Most people commit crimes. A lot of people steal, and a lot of people lie, and a lot of people, buy and sell drugs. Way more than you'd think, actually, based off of statistics and worldly statistics, and ones that I've created based off of interactions and other studies. Um, but nonetheless, most of the people in Cecot I don't think are evil. And if it turns out that there's a constant, if it turns out that it's being used as a death camp, then I think Bukele should be immediately terminated from his position as presidente. And I think the Cecot facility should be immediately shut down. There should be absolutely no tolerance for mass murder of people. I think that this can lead to, it can lead to more death camps. If he's like, oh, I'm getting away with the Cecot death camp, then I'll build more, and then we can send people from other countries here, get paid for it, and exterminate them, and turn them to ash in crematoriums. I think that, one small little thing can lead to a big thing. It can spiral. And, we've seen this in China with the Uyghurs, the mass extermination of Uyghurs. That's been heavily censored, heavily silenced. But we're never really going to find the proof of that, true legitimate proof, because China is very sneaky. They're very sneaky dogs, like the old days Japanese, in Pearl Harbor. They're very sneaky, sneaky little bastards. Those Chinese government entities are. But yeah, if it turns out that Cecot's a death camp, I think that we should immediately bring change to El Salvador. By all means necessary. There can be absolutely no tolerance for death camps, no tolerance for Auschwitz 2.0, none at all. And that's why I've advocated for terrorist organizations launching strikes on the Chinese government and on Xinjiang, because death camps cannot be tolerated. No tolerance for that sort of degenerate, deplorable, repugnant behavior. There can be no tolerance for it, none. And if any nation, any group commits, acts involving death camps, they build death camps and use them, immediate termination, immediate, absolute termination of them all. That's how I feel about that. So, anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos.